Our speaker today is incredible, and for those of you who have never met our wonderful Dr. Reverend Janet Childs, or is it Reverend Doctor? I always get that mixed up. No, we're so excited she's a doctor. Janet works with the Center for Living with Dying and does such amazing work. She works with the first responders, and she is out there giving of herself so much of the time. She's one of the busiest people I know, and yet she's one of those people you call her and say, Janet, could you do? And she says, sure.
Sure.
You know, I have people who are retired at home, and I call and say, would you help with such and such? Oh, I don't have time. And I call Janet, who works, 60 hours a week, and say, Janet, would you mind? And she says, sure. And it's just amazing. I don't know how this very little body can do so much and contain so much love.
She never sleeps. She's
like,
going and going.
And she also was part of the responders after the towers fell. She went with a group back to New York and was there working with, what's the number of firehouse you were with, that you worked with?
Squad 288.
Yeah. And so
they're the crash and burn squad. There's the hazmat squad. They lost 15 members.
Wow.
And doing that type of work day in and day out, and of helping people and being there when somebody's going through a difficult time. We get a little part of it. Bob gets a little part of it. People here help people when they're working in chaplainship or whatever they're doing, helping people. But she's on the front every day of her life, and we are so proud to have her here to be one of our singers and to be in attendance, and now to be speaking. Please welcome Dr.
Yes. There you go. Okay.
And I just want you to know that Reverend Dottie is quite amazing. And would we ever say no to Reverend Dottie?
Well, that's one of those things too.
That's absolutely. We would never say no. So when she asks, can you do? The first thing, actually for both Reverend Dr. Eileen and Reverend Dottie, would I ever say no to them?
No.
No, I wouldn't dream of it. No. When they say jump, I ask how high.
On your way up. Yeah, that's right.
Chris, could you change it just a little bit? Because when Janet looks over at you, she's looking straight into the sunlight. Yeah.
The light of Chris is fine.
Yeah.
I want to invite each and every one of you to realize that when I go, wherever I go, and I just have come from Santa Clara Fire, by the way, giving love from our firefighters in the city of Santa Clara, and I was with them this morning. I take you with me. I take you with me. You are my church community. You are my family. I take you with me. And you sit on my shoulders and you help me get through. So I never go out alone. I never go out alone. And what we have found over the years at the Center for Living with Dying program, where I've been privileged to work for 40 years.
Whoa!
40 years old. We are 40 years old. So I started at the age of 3.
3, right.
I'm 43, all right. And when we started the center, it was all about building community for the reality of grief in our life, because grief is our response to any loss or change. And this is so powerful, my friends, because when we're talking about loss and change, it's not only death-related loss or having a serious illness. There can be the incredible loss and change of homelessness. In fact, I really thank you, Tony, for what you shared, and I thank you, Mel, what you do every day. We just had a walk for Bill Wilson Center and in downtown San Jose, and of course I was making a bunch of noise and encouraging people to chant. I realize that I'm really old. Our new folks, our young folks don't do. Remember in the protest marches where we would all chant and figure out a chant? So I was, we are walking for life, we are walking for freedom, we are walking for life. We are walking for freedom. We are walking for life. We are walking for freedom. We are walking for life. We are walking for freedom. You guys get it?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yay.
Why were you not at the homeless walk? But actually, it was an amazing, amazing show up of young people, of our youth, saying many who had been homeless themselves, who had gone through the Bill Wilson program or other programs and had gotten on their feet, many of them in the foster care system, where they aged out of foster care and didn't have a place to live. You know, it's a huge homeless problem that we have with homeless youth. And we did this walk, you know, from the from council chambers of San Jose down to the drop-in center, which is a homeless youth drop-in center. Now, do you guys know about it?
Nope.
Okay, let me tell you about it. The Center for Living with Dying became a part of Bill Wilson Center about 8-9 years ago. And what I found out about all the programs that they provide. They provide incredible programs for homeless youth, particularly, and for youth at risk. So check out Bill Wilson Center. I mean, they have like 16 programs that work specifically with this issue, and of course they adopted our program as well. So we provide all the grief counseling and trauma intervention. But they have a homeless, it's called The Drop. It's the drop-in center on 2nd and Martha. And you get food, clothing, help with employment. You can stay the night there. And it's specifically for youth. It's the only homeless shelter specifically for youth in the country.
Wow.
It's amazing. It is amazing. So please let people know about this. And I think it's up to age 23 because we want to cover transitional age youth. Again, transitional out of foster care or out of, you know, youth-related programs. And the reason I mention that is because our topic today is our village. The village within. So now we create a village without, right? We also have a village within, and it's about mobilizing your internal and external resources. So know that as we build villages without, we can what? Also build villages within. And it's very important because we live, my friends, in an extroverted society. Now what this means is it's all about what we do out there. It's not who we are inside it. And we often ignore who we are. We often don't pay attention to our internal resources. Our internal resources can power us through, you know, just like the waterfall that Dottie was talking about, can power us through incredible hardship, incredible trauma, if we call upon not only our external resources, but our internal resources. And I've given you a little kind of a peek, because I don't know about you, but I love paper. I'm very visual. I love to see something on paper. And these are just kind of prompts of what you can experience in terms of the village within. I meditated one day, this was about 10, 15 years ago, and this image came to me from Spirit, I can't take credit for it, of the village within. That we all have a village within. And we have different parts of our village within that can help us when we're having a rough time. So one villager may be having a rough time, but we have maybe 4 other villagers in our inner village that'll be able to help with that one villager that's having a rough time. And that is, the more we get comfortable with our inner village, the more we learn about it, the more we draw upon the resources of it. It's magical, isn't it? It's magical, because what it creates is it creates a powerful ground by which we can operate. A powerful ground that we can operate, and then we can share it when we are a part of the healing of the outer village. We can bring all of our inner village pieces. You know, and many of you in this room do that on a daily basis. You bring different parts of your inner village. You know, I mean, I'm looking around and I'm seeing all of you do. You know, different parts for different things that are needed. You bring those different parts to the fore so that we can utilize them. You know, and sometimes, I know for me, that there have been times in the past where maybe I haven't brought out necessarily the correct inner villager. Anyone have that experience? It's like, maybe I shouldn't have brought out the angry warrior. Maybe I should have brought out I should have brought out the peaceful grandmother. But what it is about, my friends, is getting comfortable with calling upon those inner resources. Because what it will do is it will also empower us to call upon our outer resources. Because the two are very linked. It's the infinity of giving and receiving. So as we receive that from our inner, we can give it to our outer. As we receive it from our outer, we can strengthen our inner. And this is so powerful because what happens is because we're extroverted and it's all about what we do, we don't take time to spend time with our inner village. We don't take time to do it. You know, I was just talking with Mary. Mary and I were talking about how many of you have felt exhausted, tired lately in the past couple of weeks. Okay, let's talk about what's happening. The Native American tradition and many indigenous traditions know that we are seasonally connected to the earth. What is the fall season?
Hibernate.
It's a time of slowing down. It's after the harvest, and we're slowing down. You know, the outer world is slowing down, but what do we do in our Anglo-American overlay culture?
Ramp it up.
We ramp it up, don't we? We ramp it up because of the holidays. And if you notice, there's a little tool, and I hope Reverend Dottie approves. I put little tools on ways to survive the holidays.
Oh, absolutely. Bring them on.
Because I want you to make sure that you have some tools in your toolbox. If you don't come to our Grief in the Holidays workshop, you have some ways to survive the holidays. But one of the things about the holidays is where body is slowing down, needs more rest. Think of yourself as bears, okay? I've been personally marked by a bear. Okay, it's one of my baby totems. So when I get a little growly, you'll know why. Oh, it's just your bear totem. And what happens is bears, move into hibernation. They're very wise. They know when it's time to go into the cave, take an introverted, chill pill, and nap. Because bears are also the symbol for what? Dreaming. Or dream time. Okay, so we don't have time to spend time with our internal processes, our dream time, unless we rest. But what happens is society is telling us to ramp it up. So I want to offer to you that you help develop your inner village so that your inner villagers that are good at resting, at retreating, at doing the introverted thing can call you to task. Okay, so we're not only listening to our external do, we're listening to our internal rest, dream, take a break, and that may mean that we don't do 1,000 activities, during the holiday season, that we choose and pick which ones really fill us up. Because, my friends, the bottom line is, we have a saying at the Center for Living with Dying, what we found about the holidays, and this is the one takeaway I want you to remember. If something takes more energy than it gives you, drop it. Exactly. You can always pick it up again next year. If it gives you more energy than it takes, consider doing it. For example, Corey, my partner, is the cook at our residential program at Bill Wilson Center. And what we're doing for Thanksgiving, which is giving me more energy than I can possibly hold, I'm so excited about it, is we're not doing Thanksgiving at the beach. So this is what we're doing. We're going to have a Thanksgiving dinner that Corey will cook, and I'm going to make a crane for each of our residential people. I'm going to make a beautiful flower arrangement. Now, you know how I love to forage. For those of you that know, I love to forage and make big, haphazard, crazy arrangements. Okay, and I'm going to put a crane in each one, and then when they come down to dinner, they get to take an origami crane.
Oh, wow.
And I can't tell you how excited I am about this. I mean, it's giving me energy just talking about it. I'm excited about it, and we're just going to hang out and be with each other and have Corey's wonderful food.
That's awesome.
So that's meaningful for me, gives me much more energy than it takes, right?
Right.
Yes.
The homeless project that we've been working on, that gives me more energy than it takes. I'm going to be so excited when I'm able, when I'm not doing other things, to be more involved with that. That's going to definitely, and already has, given me more energy than it takes. So really think about the quality of how you spend your energy, and remember to default to being introverted. So, what are the inner villagers that can help us do that? So, let's take a look at some villagers, in our inner village. 2 villagers I want you to spend some time with while we're here today is the village wise one, whatever that village wise one looks like, and the village child. Now, why did I pick the wise one and the child?
The wise one to teach the child wisdom.
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. Golden.
What is
The
it?
wise one can teach the child. Is that right?
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
Oh, the wise one can teach the child wisdom.
That's right. Very good.
And what can the child do?
Teach the wise one to be a child.
Whoa!
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, and prove that he's better than the wise one.
Whoa! Snap. Yes.
But the child also remembers to teach the wise one to laugh.
Yes. Yes. To laugh and to play. Yes.
To laugh at themselves.
Absolutely.
To be in innocence.
To be in innocence. That's the key. The child is in innocence, right? Everything's wide open. Yes. Yes.
I once heard that the greatest way to learn something is to teach it. So the child provides the opportunity for the wise person to relive and relearn their lessons.
Beautiful.
Through the eyes of a child.
To relive and relearn through the eyes of a child, and by teaching it, we more deeply absorb it and learn it.
That speaks to the child gives the wise one purpose.
Ooh, big. The
Everybody.
child, yes, the child gives the wise one purpose. Perfect. Yes.
It's interesting, yesterday Dan was here too. I had a little girl come with her mother, and the whole time her mother was here, she kept coming to me. What is this, Carolyn? What is this, Carolyn? But her mother was there, and I know it's because she knows that I don't know everything, but I'll at least answer her. So
Right.
children are very, very, very observant. Like,
Oh,
she
they
knows
are.
that her mother doesn't do that.
Right.
But her mother was right there. Dad was able to witness the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She
she
kept
started
bringing me
coming to
different
me
items.
too.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So I just thought that would be interesting.
That's very powerful. So,
And they're
Children-
honest.
Jen?
They're very
No,
honest.
one thing I love about children is they don't have any prejudice.
Look,
Right.
yeah,
That older woman might be wise, but she could be really rigid.
right.
The child isn't. Child's
Right. So no prejudice.
Right.
Very wise. Very in the moment, right?
Right.
And they're very observant. They're very intuitive.
Very
They know
no
right where it's at.
They're
Right.
very honest.
no
They
They
don't
also
betray
don't
you.
care about what you
That's
think
right.
is forbidden.
That's
They're like,
right.
forbidden?
Right.
This is silly nonsense, and
Exactly.
they'll
That's exactly
master it like they'll master it while everybody else thinks it's forbidden.
Perfect. So our wise woman, wise person, wise shaman can learn from the child, and the child can also learn from the wise one. Now this is very important, my friends, because when we are talking about giving and taking, that's what the inner village is about. Not one villager can handle all of it. Okay, not one villager. And I'm going to share with you a story. So I worked with a firefighter that was breaking up with a very, very abusive relationship. She was being abused. It was very, very emotionally, and it was going towards being physically abusive, and I was very scared for her. And she broke up with the relationship, and she said, Janet, this is how I used the inner village. She said, my wounded lover was taken care of by my mischievous child, by my compassionate grandmother, and by my warrior. Now, the reason I'm sharing that is look at what those 3 things gave her. Her wounded lover was the one that needed support in her inner village, right? What did the mischievous child give her?
A way to not get herself sick over it.
Not take it
Exactly.
Not
Take
get
a-
so, yeah, like.
Take a break.
Yeah, take a break, not take it so seriously, lighten up.
Yeah.
There you go. Take a break, lighten up, take a break from it, and actually play and be a little mischievous, okay? So the mischievous child is a specific kind of child in our inner village.
I can see.
You know, and they can actually give us a lot of good energy to kind of ride the edge.
They also go outside the village if they can't find it to ask other people for advice or.
Right. Absolutely.
They reach
Yes.
out.
Like I like the story with Thor. Even though they're the gods of order and law, they're the ones that mess around and are most mischievous. Like,
There you go.
like
Right.
So
they,
they're both
they
ends
make
of
the
it.
law, but at the same time, they're the
Right.
ones breaking the laws. And
See which laws work.
and I remember our story with Loki. Like one day he was just bored and cut Thor's wife hair because he thought it was ugly.
Right.
He was like, she needs better hair. And in the end, it was Thor was really upset. And Loki was like, I bet my life I can get you way better hair that she deserves because she deserves better hair. And I'm going to get Odin a present. I'm going to get you a present. I'll be back. And he actually goes out and he's the one that got him the hammer.
Wow.
You know, Loki was the one
There
that
we
got
go.
him the hammer and
There you
gave
go.
Odin his wolf and
There you
the
go.
bear and everything. So
I love
even
it.
though everybody thinks that Loki's a bad guy, if it wasn't for him, you know, Thor wouldn't have his hammer.
There you go. So this is a beautiful example. Thank you, Tony. This is a beautiful example of the village within, the inner village. Because now let's go to the warrior. What did the warrior give the wounded
Strength.
lover?
Stand in power.
Right.
Strength and stand in power, and stopped her from going back into the relationship.
That's right.
This is very key. She said, my warrior prevented me from being weak and going back into the relationship that was abusing me. Okay, what about the compassionate grandmother?
Self-love.
Comfort, love. And you know what she said? I would imagine myself being in the lap of my big, compassionate grandmother, and she would sing lullabies to me and soothe me and comfort me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now, she said, this gives me strength. And now I can begin to ask for external resources to help me, you know, intensify the strength of my village within. But she said, I can tell you 2 occasions where, you know, this individual that she was in a relationship with called her on the phone and her warrior took over. And so her wounded lover didn't have to do the work of defending her. Her warrior did. And the power of this, my friends, is that when we are in grief, when we are wounded, when we are broken, it's incredibly hard to do those other parts, isn't it?
People feed on your
Right.
weakness.
Well, and it's just hard. It's just hard when you're in that. But if I have that other part of me that's going to take care of me, and that's that other part's job. So the warrior's job is not to comfort me. That's the grandmother's job, right?
Right.
So the warrior is focused on, this is all I got to do is protect. And the grandmother, all she has to do is comfort, right?
Right.
Yeah, like
So the
when you were
warrior
talking
keeps you
about
grounded.
the basket, I saw how all the negativity and all the desire,
Right.
it melts out of me and then goes into the basket and turns into Easter eggs.
There you go. I love it. Perfect.
And I had a friend. I was watching
Perfect.
a YouTube video on alchemy, on the negative energy is actually what is used to
That's right.
That's
create
right.
your reality.
That's
It's
right.
kind of like pulling back a bowstring.
Right.
You use all your passion, all your effort, and
Yes.
you pull back like
Yes.
the world's pushing you back, pushing
Yes,
you
sir.
back. It's like, but when you hit that breaking point, you let go and it just shoots like the
That's right.
like the Indian
Beautiful
bow
image.
straight to the stars. You know,
Right.
it's just that
Like
effort to
fireworks.
keep going, and
Yes.
like the universe is not letting you have it, but you just
Absolutely.
keep going,
You
keep
need
going,
that warrior
and
to give you
then the
that
universe
push.
just bounces everything back to you.
That's where the
And
warrior
a wonderful Amanda.
Like for a while, I was trying to get my diploma. I don't know if this will have anything to do with this, but it's like me trying to get my GED when I really wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for somebody else. I was it was taking more than I can, it was taking more, it wasn't taking good energy, it was more
Causing more.
stress than I could take, so I dropped it and I feel so much better and more happy.
That's right.
So what Amanda is saying is very important and very pivotal to this. She actually was able to claim what was her real truth.
That's right.
In other words, she realized she was doing her GED for what? Somebody else. For somebody else's,
Right.
pleasure, somebody else's acceptance, somebody else's expectations.
Right.
Okay, so this is key, my friends. So this is where other parts of our inner village can help us. To just say that, you know what? You don't have to do that.
Janet, what all do we have in our inner village?
Ooh, let's talk about who we have. What do we have? So we have a landscape, don't we? We have a name of our inner village. We have, who do we have? What are some of the people, bless you, we might have in our inner village?
Amanda's in my inner room.
There you go. So who might we have?
Loved ones.
We might have loved ones. So our village ancestors. We have our village ancestors, which are what? Our loved ones, not only those who have died, but our village ancestors, all of our relatives, that can give us good energy. So maybe our grandmother was, difficult sometimes, but she had the capacity to feed us wonderful food. Okay, we want her in that inner village, don't we? Don't want the negative, but we want the positive. Want to incorporate her. Who else do we have in our inner village?
The Fool.
The
Fool.
The Fool. Thank you. And that's what Loki, that's what we're talking about in terms of coyote, and many of the native traditions that we talk about. Coyote is the transformer, the transmuter, and when we are the
trickster.
Fool, the trickster, and when we are the Fool, what happens? We need that village fool because what does the village fool give us? Laughter. What else?
He's usually the one that sees through the illusion.
Sees through illusion. Thank you.
It's true.
Joy.
Breaks the status quo.
Takes risks.
Takes risks. What else does the fool
Diverts
do?
us from the negative things.
Yeah, gives us a break from the negative and actually helps us laugh about.
Like I remember the best example of the fool was Michael Jackson in the Remember the Time video. So
Yeah,
he
there
goes,
you
He
go.
goes straight up to the pharaoh
Right.
and the thing, and he's like, "You guys don't really know anything."
Right. Right. And so, my friends, I invite you to become friends with your village fool because there's a great repository of energy there.
Well, it also makes you laugh at yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but my village fool is always calling on me because I'm always doing something. Especially when I get serious. I was like, well, this has to be done this way, and it's got to be this way. And the village fool will, okay, we're going to trip you up, Janet, because it's obvious that you're stuck in this mode. We're going to get you out of it, and helps me to surrender, okay, to what I don't have control over, and claim what I do have control over. Yes.
I think the village fool, like in Shakespeare, is like the narrator of the story, so it also has like a little levity also. But they're the ones that they're like the observer.
They're the observer. So they're holding the whole drama, aren't they? They're holding the whole play. And that's very powerful because they have that vision that can kind of see through all of it. So not getting caught up in our roles or our obligations.
The king's jester was
Yes.
actually the wisest person, but he
Yes.
had to put it in joke form because
Right.
he was the only one that can contradict the king
Right.
without getting beheaded.
Exactly. And there's a real reason that mechanism was in place because he could speak or she could speak wisdom without what? Getting beheaded.
Yeah.
Tarot cards, I think,
That's
the
what I
major
started.
arcana, because you can get visuals of
Right.
each one of these.
Absolutely.
That was what I was
Do we need a village shaman or priest or?
Absolutely.
priestess.
And what is a shaman or a priest?
Teacher.
Shaman, what does transforms, right?
Teacher. Rabbi.
Trauma into what? Energy of healing. Okay, priest. What does priest do? Priest can be our confessor. So my village priest is the confessor. It's where I go to confess my deepest, darkest sins, where I feel like I've really dropped the ball or I've really done something not right. If I go to my village priest, that village priest is going to what? Receive my confession and then invite me to transform it.
My village priest told me that the word sin is an acronym.
I love it.
Self-inflicted nonsense.
Perfect. So listen to his village priest. Because that actually, in the olden days, is what the priests would do. Would do the very act of forgiveness, which gave us a break from having to beat ourselves over the head with self-inflicted nonsense. Love it.
I love it.
Love it. Okay, I have a village goddess.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've got several village goddesses, okay, that help me out a lot. Okay, who did I call upon today when I was with the firefighters?
Us.
I called upon you.
Yeah.
Mother Mary.
I called upon Mother Mary, and I also called upon Athena.
That was the
Now,
one.
why did I call upon Athena? Because if I come across as Mother Mary, those firefighters are going to eat me up, spit me out, and I'm going to be left at the front door. I've got to come in strong, don't I? I have to come in with intense energy that says, look, I'm going to meet you where your energy's at. I'm going to acknowledge where you're at and what you do, and I'm not going to be a wimpy. But I also am going to bring in Mother Mary. And I want to talk about this because the very first thing I say to these firefighters are, I want to thank you for being on the front lines, for being present to people in trauma, because that's what they remember when they come to grief counseling. They remember your presence, that you were there in their moment of trauma. And I want to thank you because while you can't change the incident, you can change how we get treated after the incident, and that's huge.
Was there an incident?
And you can see their faces change. So, I first come in joking a little bit. I got a little fool going on, a little bit of Athena going on, and then I'll bring in Mother Mary, right? I bring in Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin is very, very strong. She's a warrior of compassion.
What about Aphrodite?
Aphrodite, okay. Well, I try not to do that with the firefighters. Although they are awful cute to hug. However, what I can do with the different parts of the inner village is have them behind me and with me and inside. They're my backup singers, aren't they? They're my backup singers. So I want you to call them forth when you go into a particular situation, so you can say, okay, I may need this, but I may need this. And so in one of the presentations that I gave, I'm giving a series of presentations to Santa Clara Fire on dealing with death notification and trauma communication. So I get them for 1 hour, and that's it. And one of the things that happens is that when I go in, I'll say, I'm bringing the child, I'm bringing in some people, because sometimes I need the child, don't I? I need the child to lighten things up a little bit, And I have a village cursor. Now, what the village cursor is, she uses swear words, okay? And sometimes I use those with responders, okay? So I've just offered to you to get to know your inner village. These are just prompts for you to use, but think up your own prompts and get to know them by spending time with them, listening to them, asking them what are the resources that they can give you.
I often find that there are times when one villager is in disagreement with another, which is why one of the most important members of my village is the village leader, because that's the one who listens to everyone and says, okay, I hear all of you, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to be fine.
Absolutely, and so that's what you need to do, your village council. Because that's what when you bring your whole village together, and you might have two villagers that are disagreeing, right? That's when you have your village leader. And that's when you have your council, too, that helps that village leader to balance out the difficulties between villagers. And that's the importance of having the council. So gather together your council, have discussions, dream for the future, prepare for the present, and know that you bring your light of your village to the world. Thank you so much.